we do everything from local, national help for whatever patients may need. So we've been able to help with things like copay assistance, urgent need assistance, just any type of resources that they might need as far as like, what is their diagnosis? Where can they go to? We have an incredible patients and caregivers program where we match people who are newly diagnosed with people who have already been through the treatment with the same diagnosis and help them alongside their journey, as well as we do the same thing for caregivers. So anybody that is a caregiver and they don't know how to help their loved one through this diagnosis, we match them up with another caregiver who's already been through that same process. So it's super special. We have so many incredible resources. I could talk all day, but if the first place that we always encourage people to go to is our informational resource center, and you can find that just by searching up LLS information.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Spotlight Houston, where we bring you the best people, places, and events in Greater Houston. Today we're talking about a topic that touches the lives of many, but isn't always easy to understand: blood cancers like leukemia, lymphoma, and myeloma. We're joined by Tatyana Chowbay, Campaign Development Manager for the Texas Gulf region of the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Tatyana shares the stories behind LLS, the vital work they do to support patients and caregivers, and how clinical trials, education, and community fundraising are helping save lives. You'll also hear a personal story from our host, Blanca Quezada, about how blood cancer affected her own family. This is episode 130, with an original air date of Monday, March 24th, 2025. Spotlight Houston is brought to you by Story Zone Media. And now, here's your host, Blanca Quezada.
Hi, everyone. Today is going to be a very special day because I have a great guest. We'll be discussing a health condition that we don't often hear about and that a lot of people, children included, around the world are diagnosed with daily. And I'm talking about leukemia, lymphoma, and myeloma. These are blood cancers, but how much do we really know about them? I don't know too much, but I know a little. We don't know what the symptoms are, so we're going to learn about what they are, what kind of questions we should ask our doctor, what are the treatments, what are the side effects of a lot of these medications, and of course, the stem cell transplants or bone marrow transplants. And there's so much to learn. And if you find yourself in this situation, it's a lot of information to learn about very quickly, and it can become very overwhelming. So I've asked Tatyana Chowbay, who is the campaign development specialist with the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is a global leader in the fight against blood cancers, to join me to talk about this blood disease and how this organization can help and guide families and patients through this healthcare experience. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. Hi, everyone.
It's great to have you here because, as I mentioned, a lot of us don't know a lot of detail. We hear about it, but we really don't know until we're in that situation. And it can be really, from experience, I can tell you that it's overwhelming.
Absolutely.
And before we get started, can you tell me a little bit about the history of the society? Because I know that it's been around for a long time. And has the mission of the organization changed since it started?
Absolutely, yes. So LLS was actually founded by a family who was grieving their son, who was a teenager at the time and lost his battle against leukemia. His name was Robert. His parents were Rudolph and Antoinette, and they started a fundraising and education organization in their son's name. So it started off as their family foundation, and then it over time has grown to what it is today as the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. So when we started, we were just focused on leukemia, but now we've expanded our focuses to all blood cancers, including myeloma and Hodgkin's disease as well.
Mm-hmm. Tatyana, why did you decide to become a part of this great organization?
Absolutely, yes. Thank you for asking. So I always have had a history with nonprofit. It's just a place in my heart that I love, but actually my connection is very personal. So my grandfather was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma just a few years ago. He's in remission. He's doing really well. We're super lucky, but obviously that's not the case for everyone. So when I got the opportunity to work for LLS, I couldn't say no.
What services are offered and how do you provide support to people with leukemia or I keep wanting to say lymphedema, but it's not lymphoma?
Yes,
What kind of help or support do you give?
absolutely. So LLS splits their mission into three pillars. We do research, patient support, and education, as well as advocacy. So we have, over the 75 years that LLS has been in fruition, we've been able to invest over $1.8 billion in just blood cancer research, which has been absolutely life-changing for so many of our patients. And over the years, you can see the progress that we've made in some of our treatments, as well as for our patient support. We do everything from local, national help for whatever patients may need. So we've been able to help with things like copay assistance, urgent need assistance, just any type of resources that they might need as far as like what is their diagnosis, where can they go to. We have an incredible patients and caregivers program where we match people who are newly diagnosed with people who have already been through the treatment with the same diagnosis and help them alongside their journey, as well as we do the same thing for caregivers. So anybody that is a caregiver and they don't know how to help their loved one through this diagnosis, we match them up with another caregiver who's already been through that same process. So it's super special. We have so many incredible resources. I could talk all day, but if the first place that we always encourage people to go to is our informational resource center, and you can find that just by searching up LLS information.
And we had just mentioned that there's different, it's called leukemia and lymphoma cancers, blood cancers, but they're variations of this disease, right?
Absolutely. So every type of cancer basically has their own subtype within that. So for leukemia, there's acute lymphoblastic, there's acute myeloid. There's just so many different types. I don't know all of them, obviously. I'm not a doctor, but I do know that there are so many different sublevels, which makes it so hard to treat because it's not a one-size-fits-all disease.
So are there symptoms or things that we can see that aren't going right with us that might tell us that's probably what we've got?
Yes. So obviously, like I said, if anybody wants to know more about some of the symptoms that they're experiencing, you can always go to our informational resource center and then always consult your local doctor first by all means. But we do see a lot of the symptoms. For example, the most common diagnosis for childhood cancer is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And some of those symptoms can look like very similar to anemia. There are so many different type of sublevels. One of the most common is acute lymphoblastic leukemia. That is one of the most diagnosed in childhood cancer and for adolescents under the age of 20 years old. So those symptoms can look like anemia, low platelet counts within their blood levels, and that results in a lot of bruising as well as a few other general symptoms. And then some more common symptoms that we see are like those night sweats, discomfort in their bones and joints, just things like a lot of pain.
Well, I'm going to share a personal story.
Yes.
My sister was diagnosed several years ago with acute lymphoblastic leukemia.
Wow.
Which in an adult is kind of rare because it normally happens to children. So the doctors couldn't figure out why or how she got that. But the way she found out was kind of strange because she started having like bruising and a pain in her neck.
Wow.
And so that's how she got diagnosed, by going to the doctor and the doctor sending her to an oncologist and trying to figure things out. And fortunately, she went through a lot of very painful treatment and she was in remission for 4 years.
Wow.
And the other strange thing is that 4 years later, almost on the same date and same month, she got it again and she came back really strong. And so she had to go through a lot of more chemo treatment, of course, not radiation, but more chemo. And so she had to come to Houston. She wasn't living here. She had to come here. And so she was in the hospital for almost a year. It had gotten so bad, a lot of bacteria and other things that they just couldn't do very much with. But the other thing that I found really interesting was that one of the treatments was doing a stem cell or a bone marrow transplant. And none of the family, we weren't a match. So what I found out that the Leukemia Society does is they go out and recruit volunteers to become donors.
Yes.
And so that is a national thing that you guys do, right?
Right. We have partnered with Be the Match, if you've ever heard of them as well. And
Yes.
we always have like a big week here in LS where we encourage all of ourselves as well as our volunteers, if anybody's interested, to sign up and participate and hopefully be a match for someone.
Yeah. But like I said, none of us were a match, and nobody in the state or the country was a match to her either. They couldn't find a match.
Wow.
So they had to go internationally, which I thought was fabulous. I didn't know that the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society could do that, but they did. And they found a match in Spain and they found a match in France.
Wow.
But it wasn't bone marrow. It was a umbilical cord,
Oh, wow.
blood from an umbilical cord.
Wow.
And they brought them and they started to work very slowly, but they started to work. But she was too far advanced with the disease that it wasn't working fast enough.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we lost her, but we were grateful that we had her for an extra 4 years, and also very grateful to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society because y'all were a great help to us, great support, and we participated and have participated in going out to get donors at different events.
Well, thank you for sharing that story. I know it's crazy because when you work in this field, you meet so many people that go through so many similar situations. And it's just like, what else can we do? There's always something else. And something that you mentioned is the wait time and the having to come to Houston. We're so lucky that we have one of the best medical districts here in Houston. And it's right in our backyard. But we see patients all the time coming from all over just to get treated here. And then that's where some of our copay assistance helps with those traveling days and just staying in a hotel because you don't live here, things like that. So there's so much that people kind of don't think about that goes into, it's more than just showing up at your doctor's appointment, receiving your treatment. It affects everybody.
Yeah. Like I said, it was very overwhelming.
Absolutely.
We had to learn everything there was to learn about acute lymphoblastic leukemia and how we could help, what we could do, to learn about her treatments, the side effects. I mean, it was just so much, but
It's so much.
we had someone that we worked with from the society that was a great help.
That's
and great
amazing.
support. Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah. That's why I wanted you guys on too, because it, like I said, it's something that we normally don't hear about. And when we do, we really don't understand it completely.
Yes.
And it's a lot of information that we do have to learn. Yeah. And very quickly, quickly.
Absolutely.
You mentioned a lot of services and support that you provide for people of all ages.
Yes.
And how can they get in touch with you?
That's where we are. If it depends on what they're trying to get involved with. Do you mean more for like their diagnosis and their treatment, or just about our fundraising effort?
Yeah, just in general, as far as support and help now.
We always recommend that anybody that is trying to figure out what they're going through or asking questions or need information, always reach out to our informational resource center. That's where you can talk live with nurses who are professionals and they can guide you in the best direction.
And earlier you mentioned caregivers. Caregivers are also very important, but it can become very stressful and again, an overwhelming situation. So how do you provide support for the caregivers?
I think that's where I go back to a lot of our commonalities of one of our programs is matching them with another caregiver and trying to give them those resources of this is what you can expect to happen. This are some external resources in your local area that you can reach out to that can help you in your assistance of whatever you may need. Honestly, it can range from a variety of things. And that also having a support system and the support person that's been through what you're going through has been really monumental for a lot of our caregivers.
So one of the primary missions for the society is research.
Yes.
You do a lot of research. What type of research?
Actually, it kind of spans we have a lot of different projects going on right now. We're constantly a part of if you follow us on Instagram, you see it all the time that we're part of all of the FDA approvals that are happening for a lot of our cancer treatments. Right now, one of my favorite things that I love to talk about all the time is our clinical trials. Locally here in Houston, we support about 11 researchers, which is super, again, like I said, incredible. It's just, we're so lucky to have the community that we do here in Houston. And we're so grateful to be able to support and fund their research here. One of my favorite things that we do is our clinical trials. Like I mentioned, one of my favorite stories is actually about one of our honored heroes. So if you don't mind, I would love to share.
Oh, yes, please,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
Evan is our honored hero for the Visionaries of the Year campaign. And in LLS, we have multiple fundraising initiatives. One of them is Visionaries of the Year, and each initiative gets an honored hero. So this is a family that has ideally been out of treatment now and is able to share about their story and inspire so many other people who may not have a mission connection and want to learn more. So Evan is our honored hero this year, and he was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And his story is so inspiring. He was diagnosed at the age of 4. He went through his first round of chemotherapy, and they were expecting to see ultimately no sign of cancer after that first 30 days. But unfortunately, they did. So they needed to look for alternative methods to treatment because his chemotherapy was not working. And he was lucky enough to be selected for a clinical trial that was going on. And that clinical trial it's all happening here in Houston. And that clinical trial is what ultimately saved his life. He was on a backpack that infused his medication for a period of time. Then he went into his maintenance phase of treatment. And this past August 23rd of 2024, he was able to ring the bell and be cancer-free. So super
That is a beautiful story. Great
But the
story.
best part is that he joined LLS as an honored hero. We had no idea how LLS really impacted their family at the time. And they were sharing the story, and his mom told me the name of his clinical trial that he was on. And so I just looked it up just to see, because I want to learn as much as I can, just like everyone else. And it happened to be that LLS was a part of the approval process in helping this clinical trial come to fruition. And we were a huge part of saving Evan's life too, which gives me chills every time.
To know how many people they've been able to save through these clinical trials?
I don't, but I would love to know. I'm sure we have that statistic. We do also have our annual report, which is public for anybody to look through, and it shows you all of the incredible research and trials and everything that we're currently doing right now.
Do you know how patients can become or go into clinical trials?
Yes. So it is a selective process, and not everyone, unfortunately, can be selected because they are trials. In Evan's case specifically, he was recommended by his doctor. He met all these qualifications that they have to go through, and he was ultimately selected at the end of it.
So I guess it's just talking to your doctor
Yes.
and finding out what the next steps might be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so I know that right now you are starting or have started actually a special campaign to raise funds for those
Yeah.
clinical trials.
So, yes. So right now going on is our Visionaries of the Year campaign, and it started March 20th and it's going to go until May 30th. This campaign was formerly known as Man and Woman of the Year, if anybody's ever been familiar with it. But it's our 10-week philanthropic competition for leaders here locally in Houston, and it spans across the whole United States.
Yeah. Well, so how can we get involved?
Yes, absolutely. So right now, everybody who is participating in this competition is called a candidate, and candidates are nominated through our local board and our leadership committee. And it can be anybody. It can be a stay-home mom. It could be a CEO of a company. It can be anybody is welcome to be a part of this campaign, but they are handpicked to be a part of it. And so it's super special to be nominated as a candidate. And then they create teams. So you can join a team. You can also just be someone that wants to donate. or participate in any of their events that they may be hosting throughout the year.
Yeah. So how can you, or what can you do to become selected?
Yes. So honestly, if you know anybody that's competing right now, or if you want to know, if you want to reach out to somebody at LLS, we can give you more information on how to be nominated and give you the information of how to be a candidate and see if that's something that you want to be a part of. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you can become a candidate anytime.
So our campaign is from March 20th to May 30th. From that time period, we will not be accepting any candidates just because the competition is already going. But anytime before or after, you're welcome to sign on. And so we start recruiting after this season ends.
Oh, okay. So what is it? What are your duties as a selected candidate?
Yes. Sorry, go ahead.
What is it that they have to do?
Yes. So we ask our candidates to really be open to sharing with their network what they're doing and asking for donations and just fundraising as much as they can, because at the end of the 10 weeks, the team that raises the most funds wins the title of Visionary of the Year. So that's kind of just our main focus, is really being open to the ask, not saying no for people, being willing to put yourself out there, share the LLS mission, and share the reason why you're doing what you're doing and why it impacts so many people in their lives, and how the funds really do go to such a great place and change lives for so many people.
And so when will you do a huge celebration for this?
Yes, so our grand finale gala is on May 30th. It's going to be where we finish off our celebration of all the fundraising that our candidates have done over the 10 weeks. We see the title of who won Visionary of the Year as well as our overall impact. Last year, we were able to raise over $1.6 million, which was incredible.
Wow.
We're so excited about that. But this year, we are striving for that 2 million. So we're really going to be pushing ourselves.
Okay, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Volunteers are really important for the organization as well. I know that I volunteered a lot, and sometimes I still volunteer when I find the time.
Yes.
So are you still in getting volunteers involved?
So our volunteers, we have volunteers for all of our initiatives. Everybody, if you're welcome, if you want to volunteer and just get to know about the organization, there's always opportunities, and we would love to find out where you can fit in. Right now, we are still accepting team members for candidates if anybody wants to fundraise and jump on board. But our main candidates are set in stone, and they've already started fundraising.
And do you have events going on like year round to
Yes.
sign up people for donors?
Yes, absolutely. So outside of Visionaries of the Year, we do have more events. So we have our big climb. It's a 50-floor climb competition. So basically,
wow.
yes, it's done at the Allen Center in downtown Houston. And it's welcome for families, friends, anybody who wants to do it is welcome to come out. They have a fundraising minimum. So you just fundraise the minimum and you're welcome to climb the stories up. And then we also have our Light the Night walks, which happen in October and November. And one is in Houston and one is also in Montgomery County. And those are welcome and open to everyone.
Yeah. And as a donor, I think donors are very important, very special people, because they're also helping. They're not donating a liver or a kidney or anything like that, but they're donating their blood. And our bodies are constantly producing blood. So if we do donate, then it'll get replenished right away.
Yes. Sorry. I don't think LLS doesn't do blood donations, though. That is a.
No, right. No, but as far as just signing up to be a donor.
Oh, yes. Okay. Sorry. I got confused for a second.
Yeah. No, I know that once you've been selected as a donor, then you will have to get a bone marrow taken out.
Yes, there are bone marrow donors. Exactly.
Yeah. And it really doesn't take a lot. And I'm not sure, but if you do become selected and you go through the process, it doesn't take too much time.
Yeah, I'm not very familiar with the whole process myself, but I'm sure I could find more information on it.
Yeah. Well, I learned a little bit about it when my sister was there going through her issue, and I also learned that the recovery is pretty quick, and you can go about your daily life with no problem, knowing that you may have saved a life.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot. Doesn't take a lot.
And changes
So,
a lot of lives.
yeah, it helps save the patient, but it also helps families that are having to go through it with the patient.
Yes.
So to find out more information about all your programs and services or volunteering, where can we get that information?
Yes. So you can go to, for the Visionaries of the Year campaign, you can go to LLS Visionaries of the Year Houston. If you just search that in Google search, you can find us right away. And then also for all of our specific campaigns, just typing in Big Climb Houston or Light the Night Houston.
Is there a general phone number that we can call to?
We don't have a general phone number just because we do work remotely, but you can email me if you want or anyone else on our team. My email is just my first dot last name at lls.org.
Okay. And we can find it on the website, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay. And we can just get in touch during business hours, right?
Yes, absolutely. Monday to Friday.
Okay. And is there anything that you would like to mention that we haven't mentioned?
Yes, one of the things that I wanted to mention was Carrie Tate Barkley, who is a candidate for Visionaries of the Year this year. She is the owner of French Cup Boutique, and she is running in honor of her very close friend, Denise. Carrie Tate is doing incredible things, and she's setting herself up for success and is hoping to win this campaign this year. If you want to support, you're welcome to go to any of her French Cup Boutique and make a purchase. For the time of the campaign, some of the proceeds are going back to LLS. That's super easy way to get involved. And she has multiple locations that you guys can also go and check out, as well as donating to her fundraising page directly.
And like you said, we can go into your website and find out more locations and all the details on how you can donate.
Yes, and they will be all included.
Okay. So, Tatyana, thank you so very much. I'm so happy that you had the time to come and join me and talk about what leukemia and lymphoma are and how the society helps families and patients
Yes,
and how we can help as well. Thank you for all that information. And I hope that you get a lot of people visiting your website just to find out what it is. Because even if we don't have a friend or a family member, you still hear about it anyway.
Yes,
And so it's good that if you know what it's all about.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. We're so grateful for this opportunity and hope to connect with a lot of people. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And of course, thank you all as well for joining me for this week's edition of Spotlight Houston. And if you have any comments or have any story ideas, please let me know. Send them your way.